What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the LivBtr podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ciano, CEO of Sabre Advisors. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, singer, songwriter, recording artist, Harry Hudson. Harry's story is really inspiring to me. He learned at the age of 20 that he had stage 3 lymphoma, and his journey as a result of learning of his diagnosis and going through treatment inspired him to do so much in the world to draw awareness to other people like him. Harry created the Hey, I'm Here For You charity and continues to do amazing work in the space. I hope you guys really enjoy listening to this episode with my friend, Harry Hudson.
I just want to have peace. Pay for the bill, let them take my card, never see the receipt. Good health, we prize, but everybody around prosperity.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the LivBtr podcast. This is your host, Jay Ciano, and this is the show for people trying to optimize every area of their life. Let's go.
I just want to have peace.
Dude, Harry Hudson, welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be on the show. I love a good show, you know?
Right? I mean, so you and I, we met, and we didn't even really interact in person we were in Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville.
Thanks to Brian Mazza and HPLT and Nick Dio. And man, I've been like really, ever since I saw you talk about your life experience, I have been thinking about it, moved by it, and need to be involved in some capacity, which, by the way, I'm not stalking you. I'm just trying to get involved, man. Your story is absolutely insane.
Thank you.
And it's so inspirational because you just move different.
Yeah. That's kind of just my whole life. It's like always, yeah. I don't know. I kind of just move like life. I don't know. Not in like a weird way, like what life revolves around me, but I kind of just like live in my own world. I think that's been the thing. It's like Harry's always in Harry's world.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what's so compelling is you've had so many major setbacks in life, but the way that you're able to move through life in your own way and really have a major positive impact on people you probably, your impact is tremendous, both through, music and the way that you live your life. But anybody who doesn't know your story that's listening to this podcast right now needs to understand kind of what I'm talking about. So take us back.
Where do we begin?
Take us back, wherever you want to begin.
Man, I think we'll take it from a young age then. I was always just a curious person, right? And like, I think by being curious, it's the ultimate gift we have as humans, right? I always say like curiosity and the way we react to things, right? And I think those are the two greatest freedoms that we have as humans. And childhood was rough. I had two parents that loved me more than anything, but like we struggled. We didn't have money. We didn't have, a lot of the things, but my dad was an addict. So like I grew up in church, in AA. So it's like, I'd be in Al-Anon twice a week and then church once a week. And like, you're kind of, I don't know, I learned a lot and I saw a lot, right?
Were you aware of his addiction, like from a young age?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Because I was like, oh, that's not a normal way to act. But he showed up. Yeah. Right? I had a lot of friends who had addict parents who just would never be there.
Yeah.
And my dad was just, it wasn't his thing. And I would always be mad. If you love me, you wouldn't do something like that, right? And you kind of learn throughout life that he had his own demons that he had to deal with, right? And it had nothing to do with me.
Sure.
Right? And that's what kids think. It's like always, my parents got divorced when I was about like 4, maybe younger, like 3. I don't remember them ever being together, but like, I thought I was the reason that they weren't, right? It's like all these things where you kind of tell yourself. And so like, for me was this great escape. And my parents never shied away from anything with me. They always told me how it is and showed me how it is. And like, so I grew up, in church, seeing all these like different types of people. Then I go to AA and I see all these certain types of people and they're all connected to one thing, right? And that's God, right? And that's a higher power. And like, So I became religious, super religious at a young age because I'm like, okay, well, the bottom of the bottom in AA, the people who are struggling the most, like they have the most hope still, you know, and if you show up, like you're doing the work, you know, it doesn't mean that you don't have to be cured addict. Like, you know, it's like you're showing up because you want that.
Right.
You know, and so I got to see all these like ways of life. And for me, that's what I'm like, why does this person act this way? And why does this? And what's over there? And what's over there? And my mom would wake, like sometimes, and this is a real life story. My mom can tell you, I guess. She told me this the other day. She's like, I would come into the room sometimes when I was in preschool and I wouldn't be in my room. And so I would walk myself to school sometimes. In preschool, I don't even know how old I was, probably 5. Like, and we lived near like Redondo Beach back in LA, like at this time. And I would walk like 2 miles to school. I don't even remember how I even got there. And she's like, I would show up to school and you'd be in the class. And things like that. And I was like always just like living in my world. I didn't think it was a bad thing. I was just like, oh, like I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that. That's the thing where I'm like, that's the craziest shit ever. I'm like, what was wrong with me? But I always was that person since a young child. And like, everyone's like, how did you get connected? And how did you do all this stuff throughout life? And it's like, if I wanted it, I got it. Right. Not because I had it, not because we had the money. It was just like, it's a manifestation. It's like, I see these superheroes on TV. I'm not like Kobe Bryant or somebody, or like a Shaq or Michael Jordan, or like the people I thought like athletes to me were like superheroes, right? Sure. And you're just like, because that's the closest thing to one. They're flying through the air, and like, or football players or anybody that was like a pro athlete. I was like, that's the coolest thing ever, right? So I think as any kid would. Totally. Every kid's like, I want to be a wrestler or a football player or a basketball player. And it's like, I was so curious because I was always like, why do people, including myself, that was another thing. I was like, why do everyone look up to these people? Like, you know, they stop the world when they walk around. And I was just like, that's wild. And there was like, I always say like I had like 2 idols. And it was like Michael Jordan, right? Or like the homeless guy down the street from my house. Because one's this like mega hero, and then the other guy's a hero to me because he doesn't go to school, right? And like doesn't have to work, and like looks like he's not like complaining, he's just asking people for things. Like, you know, it's like that's how I thought I was a kid. So I would hang out with the homeless people down the street like they were celebrities. Yeah. Because you see them every day, right? Yeah. It's like the person you see like always on the corner or whatever. You just kind of like, let me ask this guy about life. And so like I was probably 9, 10, right? And so I just started. Not the smartest thing to do as a little kid. I'm not saying go do that and talk to strangers, but like I loved it. You were
just inquisitive. Like you were just
everything. Because I was just like, I like to escape my house. Yeah. Right. And I was like, what else is out there? And that kind of shaped me into like everything I am today.
Were you, would would you have called yourself a creative? Like, did you recognize your ability to be creative?
Yeah. But I just held back from it because I, so insecure as a kid. Yeah. Still am. But it's like, I don't think that ever changes, but like way more insecure as a kid to show anything. But I was also had a like vibrant life. And I look back and I'm like, I always was making music. Yeah. I had a notebook and I always was writing songs, and I'd always get my friends together and we'd use my friend's MacBook and we would do raps in middle school and stuff like that, and like use GarageBand and go on MySpace and things like that, where I was like doing it for fun. Like my weekends were that as I got through middle school and high school, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, like those things I was very curious about. And I, always wanted a job. I always wanted to make my own money. I always wanted to figure out how to be me. Right. And there was no testament to that. I was just like, I'm just going to do what my environments are doing, like whatever's around me. And like, I loved fashion. This was probably 8th grade. Okay. I got my first, it wasn't even like a job. Like, like I'm 12. So I'm like, I don't even know how you get a job at that age. But I remember like, this is like when I started getting really into music is I remember taking the bus. And I had to take like 2 buses to get to my house. And I was taking one of the buses and I get off and I'm walking back to my house. And this is on Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks area. Yeah. And I remember there was an Ed Hardy store that was opening. And Ed Hardy at the time was just Lil Wayne's in it. And whatever Lil Wayne's wearing at that time, I was just like, that's it. Like I used to walk around with double cups of like milk. Like as I was like, I'm dead serious. I would do that. Cause I'm like, like, he was just the influence. Anything Lil Wayne did, was doing, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I remember passing the Ed Hardy store. I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't afford the clothes. We couldn't afford anything. So I was like, oh man, like how do I, not ask my parents for an $80 t-shirt or whatever. So I was like, how do I, whatever, fast. And there was like, you couldn't go in because it wasn't open, but it was like coming soon. And I saw people like through like the sheets on the window or whatever. And I saw people like working in there. So I was like, how do I get in? So I snuck through the back and I walked in like, well, we're not open. And I was just like, oh, no, I'm here because I need to get a job. They all started laughing. There's like 6 people. And they're like, how old are you? And I was like, 12. And they're like, you can't get a job. You have to be 16. Like, it doesn't work like that. And I was just like, what if I got 30 people to buy something the first day you guys open? I make flyers and I stand outside and whatever. Would you guys be able to? And they're like, yeah, but we can't legally pay you. And I was like, could you pay me in clothes?
Wow.
And like some guys like, I like the hustle. Like, yeah, if you can bring 30 people here, yes. So I remember that night, I didn't even have a colored printer. So I went to my friend Spencer's house and I'm like, Spencer, we can get these clothes. And so he's like, okay, like let me help you design it. So, we got together and he was very creative too. And so we like printed out 50 flyers, used all the color in his ink in his printer and then just started stapling them down all Ventura Boulevard. And then I stood outside and was like, hey, and like was like interacting, and I got 30 people to buy something from on the grand opening day. And then, I find out later that like, the guy that was in the room was Ed Hardy, like out of those 6 guys.
No way.
Yeah, I had no idea Ed Hardy was even a person.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like the brand. And so like the manager at the time was like, oh, like Ed like loved your whatever. And I was like, what? I was a kid. I also didn't put 2 and 2 together. So I was like, cool. Like I just want the clothes, like sweet.
What a lesson in life though, to like, just the happenstance of being assertive.
Yeah, because it's like I wanted it, right? And so it doesn't hurt to ask. And so many people are afraid to ask. I've never been afraid to ask if it felt right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to always overstep boundaries and ask for too much. I don't do that now. But as a kid, of course, like ask for anything as a kid, And 9 times out of 10, you might say no. And that one time might change your life, that yes, right? So I did that. I started going there after schools on Friday and Saturday. I'd sweep the floors. I'd answer calls. They just started an energy drink at that time. So I'd stand outside and like hold the energy drinks. Like this whole thing was just, I got to be a part of it. And I got to see what they were doing as a brand too. And like they let me into that world, and I just started, the manager at the store was a rapper.
Really?
Yeah. And so like he brought me to the studio and showed me like music and all these things in 8th grade. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Right. And so I was just like, I need to be a rapper. Like I love this, and fashion and music all combined as one. And I started understanding that. And so high school comes around and I'm not working there anymore, but then I figured out a little game where I would go to like 4 stores and say the same thing. So I went to like this women's store so I can get my mom's stuff, and like I would work there and sweep floors, and like started doing that. I was like, oh, this is like Mrs. Fields. I would get like free pretzels and cookies. Yeah, like I remember like, you get game from all these people because I would just sit there all day. I was just so curious.
Yeah.
I would go to the valet station at the nearby mall, and if a Range Rover or a Lamborghini or a Bentley, anything pulls up, I would sit do homework in the valet station, and then I'd walk to somebody and be like, what are you doing? Can I work for you?
Wow.
I'm a little kid. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, they would laugh, and most people would be like, I do this, and then make it up and like walk away. And then the 1 out of 10 is like, hey, I do this, come have dinner with me. And then you start like getting game from a lot of people started giving me game, and some people were just like, are massive now. But I was like,
was there anybody that comes to mind that gave you an opportunity that way that is worth mentioning?
No, I don't think. You know who was actually, remember Katino Mobley from the Clippers?
Yes.
He was one of them.
Okay.
And like, it's super random, but like, I thought like, what a dope dude. But I remember just like random things. And I was just very curious again, right? Because I was just like, how do you guys do it? Because it's possible.
Totally.
Right? And it's like, because I started paying attention, why do they park your car at the front of the valet? And then anytime I do it with like my dad, like it takes like 25 minutes for us to get our car, right? Little things like that. When I'm like, why do you guys get treated different? It's like, oh, because you guys are probably paying extra. I didn't know that. Right. I was just like, oh, they just were embarrassed by our car.
But the fact that you're thinking that at such a young age about how this stuff works is like, it's it's not normal, I don't think. Like the level of inquisition, is not normal.
Yeah, I don't know. I was hyper aware. And I was like, why aren't everybody being treated equal? And I started like being for like people and like equality and like, I was always interested by that. And I think throughout life, I just started like going after the things I would love to do. And throughout high school, I played volleyball a lot. That was like my main thing, was a distraction. Because in middle school, I didn't do anything like that. I was just like, I liked having a schedule. I thought it was the coolest thing to have. Like I don't get invited to parties, but even if I did, I can't go. Right? And that was my thing of like, if I'm busy, then I don't have to worry about anybody else.
Yeah,
or I wouldn't have to.
That's how I stopped drinking, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, so similar tactic where all of my friends would frown on me for not drinking. So I started to tell them I was doing a fitness challenge or training for something. And then ultimately they stopped like giving me the grief of like, I was doing it for a reason. It wasn't just because, it's similar. It's kind of like putting yourself in a position where, coming up with something you don't want the disappointment of not being invited to the party. You can't go anyway, right?
Yeah,
in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like exactly. So you don't have the emotion of like, so I started playing volleyball. I also did it because my dad was like always trying to coach me in sports.
Yeah.
And I think at this time my dad was in rehab or something and he was coming back and volleyball season was approaching. I was like, I gotta play something that he doesn't know shit about. Like he's gonna think it's the weak sport, like because he played college football.
Oh, really?
And I was a man's man, like, and I was like, oh, what's something he would not fuck with?
No
yeah, like He gets home and so what are you doing? I said, I'm playing volleyball. And my dad was the biggest support, so he's just like, he starts Googling everything about volleyball. He starts like trying to study it, and he's like, but this is not my sport, so I'm not gonna coach this one, and like
it
worked for sure, and I became obsessed with the sport because I was like, oh, like it's so challenging and it was so interesting and it was like, I don't know, I just fell in love with it. And my dad was like, okay, well maybe we should sign you up for a club volleyball because he found it in the paper one morning. He's like, I found this thing where it's the guys on the travel team and da-da-da. And I was like, I would love to do that. And I tried out, made the team, and for 5 years, 6 years after that, from like 7th grade on,
all the
or
way
6th
through
grade.
high school, basically.
Yeah. Just junior year of high school. Every weekend I was gone.
You escaped
everything, right? And never went to I wasn't at high school party. I wasn't doing anything like that. I was just focused on this. And
no
work.
music yet? Like you're not getting into...
I was making... I was making raps with my friends. So my best friend, Chris, he was the only one with a MacBook. Mm-hmm. Like the white old MacBook. And it had GarageBand built in it. And he had the Guitar Hero game, but the Rock Band game. So they had the plastic microphone. And so I was like... my favorite thing was like watching like freestyle raps on YouTube. Obsessed with it, right? And I was like, rap, like I want to, like I don't know what inclined me to do this, but we all like were living at my friend Chris's house. Like that was my best friend in the world since we were like 5th grade, and so we would all get together at his house on the weekends, usually if I wasn't playing volleyball, and I would get YouTube beats and I would drag them into GarageBand and we'd get the microphone and we would sing in his like shower because it had good acoustics and reverb, and it was like, and like we had all of our friends rapping on songs. So it was like 10 of us rapping on like a song, and I thought it was the coolest thing. So I would be up all night trying to mix and engineer it to sound good. Like I was just like a thing. I don't know. And I'm looking back, I'm talking about it now, and I'm like, I was so about it. And this is like freshman year of high school, and I just like always just did it for fun.
Sure.
And I think like, and I would do like rap battles and things like that. I was obsessed with Eminem. You know what I'm saying? I was like
8 Mile.
Yeah, 8 Mile was like I would come home from school and just like watch 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Like my babysitter at the time was like, "What are you doing every day?" It's like that was.
Did anybody else that were on those songs end up doing anything in music, or was?
Yes, actually. And so, which I'll get into. So, one, they all tried. A lot of them still try. I've been trying to help people out too. But I'm like, we all grew up. We had like this like core group in high school, like 9th grade on, and it was like a huge group of us, and like it was such a beautiful thing and what a blessing, because like none of us were like going out. We all just stayed at this house. If there was things going on, we all just stayed together.
Yeah.
And I remember one day Chris was like, we're rapping outside, and Chris is like, dude, like you should actually take it serious. And I think it was like probably junior year of high school. And I was like, no way, dude. Like, there's no way I'm going to take it serious. It's like, I think we can like do it, whatever.
Did he say that because you were naturally better than others, or was it more just like a homie supporting, you know?
I think he just saw that there was a lot of potential in it. And he was the first person. I remember it like yesterday. We're sitting by his pool and he was like, you should actually do this. I was like, what? Like, and I was like, nah. And he's like, dude, like, and so I was like, okay, like maybe you're right. And we had this kid named Diego at our high school, and Diego would always hang out with us, but Diego's dad was a huge Latin Grammy producer. So Diego was like 14 in a huge heavy metal band. He would leave school to go tour Russia and come back. Like, he was a beast, dude. And I was just like, crazy. This dude is like interesting. The most pure, wild energy, like the loudest laugh and super loud as a human and, you know, very misunderstood, but like the coolest person ever. So I was just like, Chris is like, I talked to Diego and he's going to let you use his studio. He's going to engineer you and like, we're going to get you into a real studio. And I was like, sick. Like, what? Like, and I remember putting headphones on and it was probably a mic like this. And I hear myself on a mic and I was like actually, instead of like the rock band thing, what I was doing. And I was like, hello, like, and I recorded my first song and I was like, oh, like, this is it. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. In junior year of high school, I was like, this is like what I'm going to do. And whatever that is, what's the way, you know, I'm going to figure it out, you know? And so I was like, so Diego, he was on tour all the time. So like, he wasn't in school like that. So he was like, after I recorded, I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to do this. You know, I couldn't be dependent on him. And even though we did everything, that became my brother, you know, and one of my best friends. And I remember I had my friend Mark, and we had a whole little squad, and I'm like, Mark, I need to get signed. And I thought I didn't know how to even do any of that. I was like, maybe I'll sign to a recording studio so I can get free studio time.
Back to the Ed Hardy hustle.
So I was like, okay, so computer, I'll go to the computer class, print out every studio that I could find, give it to Mark, and then between classes, Mark would call as my manager and say, hey, I have this artist. He doesn't have anything yet, but have him come in and he can rap for you. And if you like him, just like sign him. And they're like, we're a recording studio. Like, we don't sign people.
It doesn't quite work this way.
I was like, but what if you signed me and I can just record there for free and whatever happens, you guys take a piece of it. And they were like, I had to do something. I didn't have money. So I was like, I remember Mark calling people. He'd be like, hey, this person's in Alaska. This person's in Mexico. Like, I don't know why you gave me a Chile number. And I was just like, I'm just going on Yellow Pages and just being like, or online and be like, recording studios. And, you know, some people would be like, hey, come in. Right. And I remember this, like, my dad dropped me off. My dad was so supportive of it. So like, I'm not going to do volleyball. I'm going to do music. And he's like, cool. Like, let me understand how music business works and all these things. So he just started supporting whatever. And I remember like guys selling you CDs on the street. Another one of my idols. Yeah. Idols. Because I was like, you're the only person I know personally that knows how to put his voice onto a actual CD. How do you do that? I would go to the dude's houses, bro. Probably very unsafe, but I would go to like Hollywood Boulevard. I'd take a bus to Hollywood Boulevard and be like, yo, how? I rap. And I would remember go to these dudes like trap houses and studios and like watching them record. And I'm like, was just like, this is the coolest thing ever, being in that space. And I'm talking about it now because I don't ever really talk about this. So I'm like, whoa, so curious. Totally. Kept just going after that. And like, I remember, you know, going to Guitar Center. I'm like, well, if you work at Guitar Center, you make music. You're not going to work at Guitar Center if you don't make music. So I would go to everybody at Guitar Center and be like, hey, do you produce and record? Can you help record me? My dad went with me to do it. We find one guy and he starts working with me. And like, I would go to take the bus, or my dad would drop me off in Studio City, record at this guy's house. My dad would come pick me up. It was just like, it was very cool, right? And it was very awesome. I had that support because I was like, how do I do this? You know, and I was very interested in it. Senior year comes around. Chris, my best friend, is now managing me. And his dad was a big Hollywood agent. Okay. And his dad was always gone. And he called his dad. He's like, hey, I'm going to manage Harry. Like, Harry's rapping. Like, do you have any connections for us? Because he didn't want to ask his dad until, like, we had a couple songs. Like, things like that. So his dad's like, oh, it's cute. Yeah, like, I can, like, hook you guys up with people. And so like we ended up getting hooked up with like the people from Death Row Records, which was wild. And I remember taking the bus to like Suge Knight's like office.
Oh.
And it was like, you know, he was there for like 5 seconds. I don't know. It was just like this whole thing where it's just like, I was just about it. I was like, I'll sign to anybody and anything. Like, let me show him.
Crazy though. From like, you know, just that story, man, is like, I feel like I'm watching a movie.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm probably missing a lot of parts. And that's how it felt. Long story short, nothing falls through, right? I rap for these people. They're like, where are your songs? You need to have songs. Doesn't go through. One guy actually believed in me at that time. His name was John. And he was like, you should sing. These guys should rap. You should sing. You have something in your tone. I was like, fuck no. Whatever. Long story short, he passes away like 2 weeks after that, randomly. What? Got shot randomly.
Oh, shit.
And me and my friends fall apart. I was like, I need to start singing because he was the only person in this actual industry that actually believed in what I was doing. So I'm going to go back to square one. And this is, I just graduated. I'm about to graduate high school at this time. So I was like willing to give up everything and not graduate high school. It's like, it'd be so cooler to not graduate. But I did. And I, you know, go to music school for a day. I didn't like it. Like, I just wanted to make music, right? And so that happens to, I walk out of music school because I'm like, whatever, some guy follows me. He ends up being a producer from Sweden. I end up moving to Sweden 2 weeks later. Interned for him in Sweden, learned how to make an album, came back to LA, made a project, about to sign a record deal. The day I come back to sign a record deal, I get diagnosed with cancer, right? And so that's how everything kind of happens. So that's the start of the story for me. Like, this whole thing was like a whole buildup of like being curious and whatever. But I'm like, I get diagnosed. I walk into a label. They say, we want to work with you. It's a Friday. We want to work with you on Monday. We'll get the contracts, things ready. Cool. Leave that. Choke in my sleep. My mom has to wake me up. She said, we're going to the ER. Like, you're choking.
This is the same day.
Same day.
Same day.
In the ER, I get an asthma pump. Cool. All right, we're about to send you home. God works like this. The head doctor, not from the ER, but from the hospital, left his laptop. So he comes through the ER to go grab his laptop. He went home. Normal clothes. Comes back. He said, what's wrong with you? I said, I have asthma attack. He said, cough for me. This doesn't sound like asthma. Come with me. Turns on PET scan, CT scan, MRI. Turns them all on. Has to like plug them in. Turn the lights on. Puts me through them for another like 2 hours. Comes back. I see him walking down the hallway and I'm like, oh, I have fucking cancer. Because I can just see it. And I saw this in my head. I like have visions all the time. So he comes in, shows up the x-rays, and he was like, this is the worst part about my job, but like, you like have cancer. So my mom's crying and I'm a funny guy. So I'm like, Mom, it's all good. Ends up being like late stage 3, early stage 4 lymphoma, right? And she's like, did we catch it early? He's like, no, we need to tonight do chemo. We need to do surgery tonight. Like, now, because you probably have like 2 weeks left to live. Like, if we don't catch it now, like, it's everywhere. So I was like, my mom's freaking out. I'm just like, whoa, okay, what's happening? The next day I'm in a doctor. I'm getting biopsy 3 days after that, and I'm starting chemo the next Monday, right? So it's like, you're just going. And I was like, what the fuck just happened to my life?
It's literally like the best day of your life and
the worst day right there. Yeah, and so it's like, for me, all this stuff, the madness and all this curiosity like went out the window, right? Because I'm saying all these things like I knew it. I didn't know shit, right? I didn't know anything. I was just an insecure kid who was just hungry to like be something or to make someone proud or to make money or, you know, it's just, that's what it was. So when you get stripped from everything and like you don't know if you're going to live, I'm 20 years old and I'm like, whoa. I'm looking back. I'm like, I did all these like, I didn't really do much, but I was just like always so curious but so insecure at the same time. And I was like, maybe. And then I became okay with dying, which was my biggest fear. My biggest fear was death. And so I was like, you know, maybe I would be okay with that. And with that being said, I was like, okay, well, I came to terms with the biggest fear I've ever had, right? And I was like, it's okay if whatever happens to me because it's a God thing. Like, it's divine timing if that's what it is. Maybe I didn't want to live a life true to myself. And maybe if I die, it'll help my family and people in my life live a life true to themselves. Right. You know, it's like that. I think we're all catalysts for each other. It's like what I believe.
You're trying to justify the experience you're going through, and maybe there's a purpose behind it.
Correct. I had to put that in my head. Yeah. So I was like, if something happens to me, it has to be a purpose. So I'm like, hey, it's okay. Whatever happens to me. Maybe I just wasn't so true to myself, and maybe it would have been different if I was. Then it got to a point of like me finding music, and I keep this journal on me because I remember I can go in, but the first day I get diagnosed, I meet this woman named Bonnie. She grabs my hand right before I start chemo. This is the first day of chemo, and she grabs my hand and she's, what do you love to do? She says, how old are you? I said, 20. She's like, 20. I loved my 20s. And she's like, what do you love to do? And I said, I love to make music. And she's like, would you die for music? So I'm like, what does that even mean? Because I'm dying right, at this moment. And I was like, yes, I would die for music. I sat with it because I'm like, why do I even make it? I remember fighting going on at the house, and I put a Walkman on. I remember not listening to school because I wasn't good at it, so writing in there. I remember it's like all these moments that made music made me, right? These times I would make music a little bit, like shaped who I was. And I was like, yes, I would die for music because it's like my happy space. She's like, okay, no matter how sick, tired, yada, yada, always put music before cancer.
Wow.
Right? Make it a priority. 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day, 2 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Like, make it the priority and show up to chemo like it's a job, like it's school. Show up, do the work, but don't make it define you.
Bonnie was an angel, man.
Oh, and she passed a couple days after that. So I only met her once, but I talk about her every day, right? So full angel. And she gave me two of the greatest advice, and that was one. And so I was like, okay, well, let me make it a thing. You like your family and friends? Yes. Okay. Music, family, friends, cancer, right? Have your family and friends show up for you. Have them be there. Ask for help. Ask for support. Everybody will support you. Okay. 20. I remember my 20s, but I don't. She's like, I know it was the best time of my life, but I wish I had a journal. My biggest regret is not journaling down what I did in my 20s because I don't remember my friends. I don't remember the adventures we had. I don't remember, because she had Alzheimer's and she also had this type of cancer that was like, gave her brain fog kind of thing. So then she's like, don't do what I did, right? And the next day my brother gets me a journal, and I've been journaling for the last 11 years now, and every day, whether it's like, I hate today. I'm not writing profound things. It's just more about like, let me get out what the inner negativity and positivity, like it's just like, let me just get it out before I splurt it out. And those two things shaped my whole life, right? And so I started writing, started making music again, started focusing on like who I am as a human being, right? And I think that shapes us all. Like, who the fuck are we as humans? And it was the biggest blessing I ever had, right? So I go through a year of chemo, a couple months of like radiation kind of things. Just like, it took a while to like recover, obviously, but I beat it, right? Which I didn't think was going to happen. And by the grace of God, that happens. And then, I started making music for real because I'm done with chemo. My doctor, halfway through our treatments, my doctor knew I was going to be okay. And he was like, you're going to be okay. You're going to use this as a gift. Like, you're going to travel the world. My doctor saw everything. You're going to make music. You're going to help people going through the same thing. Is this the
same doctor that forgot his laptop or a different doctor?
Different doctor. Okay, so this is my main doctor.
This is your main doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Puro.
Okay.
Lawrence Puro. Just stud. And just the best. He's like my second dad.
Yeah.
And so he was like, you're going to be good and you're going to use your gift to help people go into the same exact thing. Like, you have that voice and you need to be that voice. And I was just like, whoa. And there was like big confidence boost. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I need to be that voice. I need to help people. So I started helping people while I was going through treatment and like talking to charities and raising money.
Made you feel
out of purpose.
Again, that's the purpose.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was the purpose. And I'm finding the purpose now while I like, it's like, you gotta understand what passion and purpose is. And I'm like, my whole goal, and I've always said it, was to be a role model, right? A positive role model where someone can look up. I want to be someone's, a kid's Michael Jordan, right? Yeah. In the sense of, maybe I'm not this crazy athlete or super successful, but it's like, as a human living a human life. And I was like, I just want to help kids like be seen and heard, because I never felt seen or heard ever in my life. And that's how I think a lot of people feel. And
I was
so
just going to say, that resonates with me. That resonates with, I think, so many people.
And you look at life now, and everybody, you see a sixth grades around the country. What do you want to be when you're older? There's no astronaut. There's no NBA player. It's rich, famous, TikTok.
Yep.
Those are the three.
YouTuber. Yep.
Yeah. Those are the four. Those are legit. And like my cousin's a teacher in America, and she's like, they have to do that every year. And she's like, those are the four main things from anybody. And what you're just saying is, rich and famous, you just want to be seen and heard. Yeah. Because that's what I was attracted to as a kid, right? You're like, oh, like everyone's looking at you and you're seen and heard in anything you want. It's like by random people, right? Totally. And like most people. What does it
really mean? But
everybody just wants to be seen and heard. Maybe they have tough family lives, which most of us do, and it's like, okay, cool. I started taking all these notes of like things like that. I started working with charities. I beat cancer. I make an album right after that. That album gets me signed to Rock Nation. And it's like Jay-Z's one of my idols, it's like, that was a superhero for me growing up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like manifestation, going back. I remember being a child and rapping to Jay-Z when I was like 10 years old. The song Girls, Girls, Girls.
Yeah.
Girls, 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 I do adore. I walked up to him and just did that at like a Four Seasons breakfast spot that my grandpa took me to with my dad. And I remember I just see Jay-Z and walk right up to him and I'm like, start rapping to him. And he was just like, whoa, come get a waffle with me. And I walk with him to get a waffle. And like I sit down at his table and he like introduced me to some of his friends. He's like, what do you want to do? And anytime I met somebody that was famous, I was like, I want to be a rapper, you know? But like if I met a basketball player that day, I'd be like, I want to be an NBA player, you know? Like whatever happened, like I was in LA, so I got to be around a lot of cool people. And I'm like, I want to rap. He's like, he starts laughing. He's like, you can do whatever you want to do in life. He's like, but you just got to work really hard and you got to like manifest it. He said that. And so when I signed to him, I told him that story and he was just like,
did he remember this kid?
He didn't remember it,
okay,
but he recalled.
Crazy.
He was just like thinking about it. He was like, the manifestation thing is like so real. And he was like teary eyed, and he's like, "That's crazy.
That is crazy."
And like, I didn't plan to sign to him; it just happened.
Yeah.
But again, manifestation. So I look back and like the fact that I can have that moment and do that, and learn from all these people in that label, which is just like awesome.
By the way, like somebody who's insecure, doesn't feel seen and heard, you know, randomly walks up to Jay-Z and then ultimately gets signed by him. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, like
that's crazy.
Insane. Probably like 15 years later, 14 years later, right? And it's like, with that, it's like, don't be afraid. I was never afraid. I was just insecure. I was afraid, and that's why I was always funny and I didn't care.
Right.
So I didn't care what people thought of me.
Yeah, I don't care.
Even though I did.
Yeah.
But I just that was my personality. My persona was like, oh, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Like, because everything was so serious at home.
Yeah.
But I think, like, bro, that's why I can keep going on. But I'm like, look.
I know. No, I love you going on.
But
we'll do a part 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, we can do all that.
100%.
So I'm learning how to make my stories short. I'm learning. I have too much to tell. So I'm like, dude.
Here's the problem with it. It's like you're a masterful storyteller, so it's very challenging to try to fast forward the story because I don't want to fucking. I want this to be a 5-hour thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, really, truly getting, you know, the opportunity to sit with you and hear all about your life is fascinating. And the only reason that I am going to push you through is because there's so much impact to make.
Correct.
And I think the audience, the community needs to hear exactly about where you are now. But I want you to tell the part of the story where you are in partnership with somebody kind of running the U.S. organization, right? And then ultimately your goal. But I want you to talk about how you get to this location that ultimately you're in now. Like
this is the freestyle short story of what a crazy thing is. I am down to my last round of chemo. I'm very vocal on Instagram. I started getting an Instagram following because I showed all the things what I was going through. I go on Good Morning America. I get a letter from Roger Daltrey from The Who.
Crazy.
Hey, I started this company called Teenage Cancer Trust. It's a charity. We just brought it to the U.S. It's called Teen Cancer America. We would love for you to be an ambassador. Click. Okay. What do you guys do? We build out teen spaces in hospitals so teens can do chemo together, or they can work together, or they can have a space. The one in London I got to go visit it, has a recording studio, a gym, you know, a lounge room, TVs, video games, like a space for 12 to 19-year-olds to have a space, because pediatric is 0 to 19.
So very different and unique, like not...
No one's doing it. 0 to 19 is pediatric. When you think pediatric, you think a little baby with a tube in his nose. So you're going to say, I'm going to donate to the pediatric, donate all the coloring books. But you forget about the 18-year-old that's there too. They're very not seen. If you want to talk about the cancer community, the teenagers are the most unseen. And everyone will back me on that. And the young adults, very unseen. And so I was like, they are the only charity I've ever met that can get me into a hospital, because I started touring. I hit up every charity. Hey, can I come visit kids?
While you're touring.
Yeah. No.
By the way, you're having tremendous success in the music industry.
Yeah, at that time. Yeah. So I was just getting going. I didn't have like crazy success, but it was more about like I was doing the thing. I was on tour, got to understand what it was like. Teen Cancer America were the only charity that got me into the doors. So I got to hang out with the kids and ask what they wanted and da-da-da. Such a beautiful space. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be ambassador for you guys forever, but you guys got to help me start my own charity. You know, so 7 years go by and COVID happens. And I'm like, okay, well, I create my second album. I release my second album like 2 weeks before COVID happens.
Real quickly, I have to stop you because when you, before this, you have to talk about your dad.
Yeah. So with that, the first project, Yesterday's Tomorrow Night, that's coming out, and I make it to make my dad like my music. My dad liked my music, but not really. So I made this like Western style project in 2017 called Yesterday's Tomorrow Night, and I shot a short film. That was my I went to Rock Nation. I was like, they're like, you're a brand new artist. I was like, I have a short film idea. I need a budget for 4 music videos. And they're like, what is going on? Like, that makes 0 sense. And I was like, please, like, somehow they helped me do it. Yeah. We did it. We shot the short film, and it's a Western film, right? This Western short film to my songs. Cause I was like, yo, I'm paying homage to my dad. My dad is from Brooklyn. He's obsessed with cowboy movies. Obsessed. Like, so I just watched old Westerns growing up with him. Was a Bonanza and all these things. Like, just constantly, I was on TV. Country music constantly on. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do this like modern folk country urban twist thing that I'm going to make a project. And that's this project that got me signed. Right. And showing my dad, and I show my dad the film. It's about to come out. The album's about to come out. And then a couple of days later, my dad passes away from a heart attack. Right. 4 days before the album comes out. So I'm just like, fuck everything. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to, like, I don't care about the album. I don't care about anything because my dad was the best person I had in my life, like the most important. So now I'm 23, just signed a record deal, feeling like on top of the world. And then there it goes again. Like, you know, like I'm like.
The fact that you had these high lows, I mean, it's like.
And so it's like.
Crazy.
So I lose my dad. I black out for the next 2 years, right? Touring, busy.
Staying busy to deal with the trauma, right?
No,
like
not gonna grieve. Yeah, my dad's gone. He's on vacation. You know, I'm too busy working. Make another album with some of my idols, and I'm like, yo, this is insane. This is crazy. I'm about to drop this next project, and this project's gonna go crazy. About to put it out, COVID happens. So it's like, let's talk about sitting in your thoughts, right? And I'm like, okay, well, now this is my time to grieve in a crazy way, which I never did before. Okay, so now I'm in this grief. I drop my project, and it's called Hey, I'm Here For You. So I sit, and I'm like thinking, what am I going to do with this project? Well, something feels like it's bigger than me. And I had all these charity ideas of what my charity would look like. And so I remember reaching out to Teen Cancer America. I was like, I want to make my own charity, but like, I don't know what to do. Whatever. Time goes by. I get a call. Harry, would you want to build a cancer center with us? Because I was like, hey, I'm going to raise money for you guys. I want to build my own cancer center with you guys. So they call me. Meanwhile, before my dad passes, he kept trying to go to Nashville. And the week before my dad, it was Christmas, right? On Christmas time, he's like, why don't we go to Nashville? I was like, we don't have any money to go to Nashville at this point. And I was like, why would we do that? You know? And, you know, I signed a deal. It wasn't like money like that, right? And he was like, let's go to Nashville. No, I'm not going to Nashville. I'm in Malibu. Like, I don't want to go to Nashville right now, right? I didn't know anything about Nashville. And he was like, come on, I think you need to move there. Like, I feel like you'd be a great songwriter there, whatever. Let's fast forward to after he passes, 2020, get a call from Teen Cancer America. Hey, would you want to build a cancer center with us? Yes, I'm so down. Where is it? Nashville. Wow. Nashville's about to build 6 new floors. You want to get in on it? And I was like, you motherfucker. Yes, 1,000% I need to do that. So then I go grieve my dad in Nashville, and I sit there for 2 months, and I'm like, oh, this is like, I'm going to live here. This was in 2020. This is before I live there now. But like, you know, coming with the idea, seeing the hospital, meeting the people, fell in love with everybody there. It was like, this is my home. I knew it then, and built my charity. Hey, I'm Here For You. And we built that center. And so what they do is they do the heavy lifting. They build out spaces. And it took a long time. Took a couple of years to build out, maybe 5 years. So like really get it right. And that's strenuous for me. I'm like, I don't want to deal with the state and the city and the red tape and all that stuff. I was like, I just want to be with the kids. I want to figure out what the kids want. So I was like, how do I attach Teen Cancer America? How do I attach my charity in a way where I can be the fun uncle? Yeah. I call myself the fun uncle charity because I'm like, we're going in right now and we have one location and it's at Vanderbilt. It's at Monroe Carroll. I'm wearing the shirt. Yeah. It's at the Children's Hospital there, and that's our first location. And the idea is to help kids feel seen and heard, right? And help them accomplish what their passion is. I had music to fall back on. So my slogan is helping others find their music, right? And it's like, you might not have the blessing or the idea of what I had at 13 or 14 because like people don't know what they want to do. But I want to be the provider and give an open opportunities and give kids the chance to figure out what they want to do. Right. Without their parents stressing out of like, it's already expensive. If you want a new MacBook, like let me help you. You know, it's like we raise money down to therapy, down to having someone figure out what their dreams are, and we want to provide that for them, you know, and provide passion to help them find purpose.
And I think for everybody listening and meeting you through this podcast, it's so clear as to why this is unique, because you being who you are and having gone through the process as a patient and dealing with all the things, you know, firsthand, where I'm sure a lot of the bigger hospitals are focused on things that just never come from the place that you were in, essentially, while you were going through all these things.
Totally.
You have a completely different perspective.
Totally. And I think for me, it's like we're just getting started, and it's like the ground up, the DIY charity is what I say. So it's like for people who are like, how do I get involved? Go to hyphy.org. I say it's hyphy. It's HIHFY.org. Hey, I'm here for you. And sign up and volunteer. But the whole point is we want to get it everywhere. Yeah. Right. But we want to figure out.
That's what I want to help with.
Yeah.
That's where I want to.
Which I would love. And it's like, I want people to understand what it's for. And you get to see where your money goes. And you get to see what's happening in real time to be like, okay, well, if I buy, we're going to launch on the 21st. We have this like hoodie, beanie, hat, and journal that we're releasing. And everyone's like, why are you releasing beanies and hoodies in the summer? And I'm like, because these kids don't leave in the summertime. Yeah. It's freezing in the hospitals and you don't have hair. And it's like they like big comfy clothes. That's what I wanted. Right. Start your story, get a journal. And I always wear hats because, you know, like it's kind of my thing. I'm also bald. So I'm like, you know, I don't like to get sunburned and things like that. So I'm like, it's like a signature thing I do now. But it's like, hey, this is a part of me. And so we're releasing that on the 21st. 100% of the proceeds will go back to the kids. So like that's the whole point, is 100% transparency to what's happening. Right. You know, and so it's down to whatever these kids need. We want to provide that for, because I believe every kid going through cancer needs that. Yeah, of course. You know, they need support and they need to be seen. And so it's like, we want to do this one right so that we can copy and paste it everywhere. Yeah. Right. And so, you know, there's a lot of exciting things. We just teamed up with the Nashville hockey team, the Predators. This is a great story. Yeah. You know, it's like I came to the city and the city's showing so much support and love and everybody's getting involved now, you know, and like we just had like Bad Bunny come to the hospital. We had DeAndre Hopkins come to the hospital. We have so many other people this month coming. It's like we're making it like more of a thing where people can come and see what it is and figure out how they can help. Yeah. Right. And all these people that's the game plan. They're not just stopping by to be like, hey, then they're going to meet the kids, but they want to overall do something bigger there. Right. Right. And so that's what we're just planting the seeds right now. And that's why I'm like, I need everyone's help. Yeah. You know, and it's like, it's just me and my brother running it right now. So let me ask a question. Can people help that are not in Nashville? Like, correct. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So you might have a connect. I was just telling you this. I was like, down to if some, you know, most of these families don't have money. Yeah. Right. So down to food, there's no hot food there right now because there's too many people and the kitchen's too small. Right. So we'd have to rebuild a big kitchen, which I'm trying to do, but that's going to take a lot of money. So it's like, until then, hey, Uber Eats. I don't know anybody at Uber Eats. You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody might be like, hey, I have a connection over there, and like they're willing to donate $100,000 of Uber Eats gift cards. Sure. Right. So then I can split that out and be like, hey, like these kids can have food wherever they want because they don't have 24-hour room service when they should. Right. So I'm just like, I'm trying to fill in the blank spaces of like, hey, this is missing. Let me just add it because it's really hard for the hospital to add it. Of course. Hey, we just hired a child life specialist. You know, I was just telling you about that. Who's the kid's best friend. Yeah. We just hired her. She started on June 9th, but she's going to be hands-on with the kids. She's a nurse, but she's also going to be their best friend and understand who they are inside out. So then she can be like, hey, this is what's that's not in every hospital. No. That's a missing component. Yeah. But I'm paying her salary. Sure. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, the charity is, not me. But it's like, that's the idea, is transparency. Because now there's somebody who can look out for the kids as a best friend. And also as someone who cares about them and can get the information back to me about what's their passion. Right. Whether they know it or not. Yeah. Hey, the kid keeps talking about piano and playing piano. Okay, well, let's get her an electric piano. Okay, well, she keeps playing the electric piano until now it's like ruined. Okay, well, let's get her a bigger piano. Okay, well, when she gets back home, we're going to get her a grand. Okay, well, if she keeps showing it, okay, well, she wants to sing. Okay, well, let's get her with some top producers. Okay, well, it's like the idea is to keep providing for your dream, to show you that, like, yeah, you might not come from the means, but it's like you can do anything you want. And I know it's so cliche, but it's like, look at me. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now, but I'm doing.
Yeah, but I feel like that's I think that's the undertone of this entire podcast is starting out as a kid that was inquisitive and was willing to just put themselves in a position to ask if they could do something, and whether or not people, like you said, 9 times out of 10 said no. If they said yes, it could be life-changing, right?
Correct.
You had also a blessing where your father supported everything that you do. You know, it's crazy. My parents were very happily married, but my father was never really around. He just worked 24/7. So regardless of what sports I played, he had no interest and wasn't around. And, you know, so all the things, it's like people believed in you and supported you. As much as you didn't feel seen and heard, you had support from people. And somebody like as profound as Jay-Z later on in your life randomly telling you that you could do anything you want to do. I know that those little nuggets from people that you looked up to as gods, that is exactly why you had the confidence to do what it is that you're doing today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. And I think people truly don't put themselves in the position to either ask for or, you know, or truly, we don't believe in ourselves maybe until somebody else believes in us.
Totally. And like parents that believed the fuck out of me, you know, beyond belief. You know, if I wanted to be a ballerina, my mom would be like, hey, we got to figure out how to get this guy tutu and some shoes. You know, it's like they're just beyond supportive because they didn't have supportive parents. Neither of my parents did. They were just like, hey, whatever. You guys just are raised by wolves, you know? And then it's like my mom and dad, they got together because of that.
Right.
Their parent trauma. And then, you know, they're like, we're going to just pour love into me and my brother. Pour love, whether we're doing the right thing or not. Like, if I get kicked out of class, my mom never punished me. She would just punish me off of her disappointment. Yeah. So I would see her face. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
I love my mom more than anything. So it's like, if I let her down, I'm like, oh, dude, what is happening? You know, like, I didn't mean to do that, fail a test. And she's like, she didn't care about that. Yeah. She's like, I never was good at school. It's all good. Like, you know, it's like, you know, she was just so my best friend, you know, and like, that's how I'm like, every person should, like, we have our ups and downs, but she, like any parents, but it's like, she's my best friend in the world. And she's taught me everything, how to just be a human, you know, and like it's like my parents were the perfect balance to make me who I am.
Yeah, but that's such a gift because I think so many people, young people and even older people, right? Like people that are now more established in life were held back because of the framework that their parents put around them, right? Like instead of, even if you had a genuine interest in an art or whatever it was, your parents were telling you need to go to law school. Correct. You know, so you have so many unhappy people that were just following the path that was laid out for them.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's rare.
Yeah. And I'm like, blessed. I don't even look, cause I'm like doing so much and I haven't even touched anything yet. So I'm like it's like all like brand new everything. And it's like, for me, I'm just, success, I told myself, if I can have a roof over my head making music, I'm the most successful. Yeah. Not what kind of roof, just a roof.
Right.
Right. And I've done that. So it's like, that's hitting the peak. I'm not asking for more than that. Know what you want in life. And then just like, when you get it, be content. Yeah. Because people always want something more. Yeah. Don't want anything more. I want a happy family. I want a happy life. I want good friends around me. I want health. I want to wake up and be confident. I want to wake up and like be a better person. I want to get closer to God. I want to understand people and humans more. And it's like, that's my idea of success. I've already hit the peak, right? I have a second life. I'm already made it. Yeah. Whatever happens. So for me, it's like, I stopped music for 2 years, right? I didn't put out anything. So I was like, let me focus on this charity to build, you know, because it's like music is easy to me. I can break up a journal and write you a song right now. But it's like, if there's no intent, there has to be a deeper intention. And right now, like my focus has been on this charity. Yeah. Now slowly I'm getting back to making music. So like I'm going to release stuff in August, but I'm like, which I'm very excited about. That's I'm independent artist now. So I'm like, I get to own the records and like things like that, which is awesome. But I'm like, going back to this charity, it's like, I want to build something that can outlast me. I want to make music that can outlast me because I'm just trying to give you the blueprints. Right. And I think throughout life, we all just we want to do something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And so for me, the charity is to help others find something bigger than themselves. And I am just this fun Santa. I'm like fun and uncle, whatever you want. I'm not trying to do the most. I'm just trying to do little things here and now when someone's struggling.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, volunteering wise, if you're in Nashville area, you can show up, you can help kids and be, hang out, or donate money, donate time or advice or, I saw you do stuff with like Solid Core, right? It's like down to the point where you might be like, hey, I just hit up the people at Nashville and they're going to bring 2 of the trainers and we'll do it once a week where they come in and train like some of the kids who want to do it, right? Yeah. You're at a hotel, it's like Monday through Friday, these are the activities going on.
That's right.
Like I want that. That's what we're trying to build right now, especially before summer starts. It's like, Monday yoga. Tuesday is, master class from a chef. Thursday is so-and-so's coming to read a book, or, it's like
amazing. Yeah.
Yoga.
Curating the calendar.
Art. Yeah. Just have some, figure out what you want to do. Yeah. Cause like, the yoga class that the kid did now wants to be a yoga teacher. Yeah. And she never knew she even liked yoga until now. It's like, have them do something they're not really comfortable doing.
It really like it you're like you said, helping them find their music, right? Like it's really like it's presenting them with opportunity, in such a unique way during such a unique and challenging time. So that's where ultimately you could have the most impact.
Totally. And so that's where I'm like, now we're engaging. I'm running the Olympic marathon in August 10th with my brother, and we're running for my charity. Amazing. Also, we're partnering up with the Olympics, and we're on the course right now. We're figuring it out, but to be the official charity.
Where is that?
Paris.
Oh, amazing.
So right now it's like, this is how God works. And like, I don't even know how this is happening, and I feel like we're still working it out, so it's not an official thing, but like we're on the course and on the path right now to be the official charity sponsor for the 2028 Olympics in LA.
Sick.
So like
it's gonna happen.
And by that point, we want a cancer center in all 50 states, or at least most of the main ones. Like that's the goal. Yeah. Obviously, it's like in 4 years, so it's like whoa. But like in every major city, we're trying to add a ham here for you in each city, especially like obviously LA would be the biggest one, which we're talks right now with UCLA. But it's like
is Hey, I'm Here for You, is that what you refer to as the actual prototype of what's currently in Nashville?
Yes. So it's called a Hey, I'm Here for You. Like it's like the Cancer Lounge.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the prototype, and we're gonna get it right this year, and then we're gonna copy and paste it. I'm not gonna like add new places before we figure out one place, right? And so it's like, I want to really lock in and make sure these kids we have a formula.
Yeah.
And it can outlive me and outlast me. So we need to have that system running.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. And my core competency is taking something and scaling it across the country. That's what I do for a living. So, and that's the way to do it. You have to build a prototype first, iron out all the details, get it right. It doesn't need to be perfect, because the second one can be a little better and the third could be a little better. Number 6 could be the perfect prototype.
Correct.
You got to keep it moving, but you got to do it in a smart way and a realistic time frame, because these things take a lot longer than we want them to.
So, and the blessing is I'm going to just attach to Teen Cancer America. So instead of building out the lounges, I'm going to attach myself to the pre-made lounges that they have. Brilliant. And then make it better.
Even better.
Right. Yeah. So it's like you have put so much money into doing it. Yeah. And so it's like, hey, like, let me.
Do they exist in other states now?
Oh, they have
everywhere, or like
mostly. Yeah. Really? They've been killing it. Like they've been crushing it. Teen Cancer America. Like definitely look at their stuff and what they're doing. I want to monopolize charities. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very hyped. Like even like the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. Yeah. Like they have these radio stations.
Jess was just talking about them. She used to do a lot with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah.
Ryan and his sister Meredith, like the best, right? And so I'm like, hey, like instead of like us taking away like donations and things, like we should all just work together. So, I'm in the hospital. Hey, I'm Here for You is Teen Cancer America is, Ryan Seacrest Foundation is, and it's like, okay, cool. Like we're all doing different things in this hospital, which is wow. What a blessing that we get to be able to do that. And so it's like,
because your primary focus is teens,
yes.
Right? So yes. There's a need for a lot more, right? There's such a need. There's an overwhelming need because a lot of these people, regardless of their age, are unseen.
For sure. And so we're all trying to figure out the spaces together to fill out things, right? So, hey, I'm here for you is the what do you need charity.
Yeah.
Right. And I talked to somebody and they're like, this is the first charity where you asking the individual what they need, not what they want. It's not like,
yeah, like
I'm not trying to create a moment for you. I'm trying to create a life for you.
right.
Right. And it's like, what are your interests? Don't look at your mom and dad when I ask you this. Like, just you and me. Like, talk. What do you like to do? I love coloring. Okay, let's figure out something, right? And it's like,
how do we water that? You know? How do we?
I love planting.
Yeah.
Cool. Like right now, like what we're trying to do, and this is what people can like focus in on. We're building an outdoor deck, right? Because there's like courtyards in the hospital that are locked and you can't use for some reason. And this one has on the floor there's a huge courtyard. It's stunning, but it's all like lopsided and disgusting looking. And I go in there and I freak out everybody. And there's like, we don't know that it costs a lot of money to change this. And so we're raising that to make it like a High Line in New York.
Oh yeah.
Trees, benches. I want to put pots like where you can garden and
a
like
happy place, man. Like,
you can walk outside and just sit in grass.
Energy.
Like when you're going through chemo, like you shouldn't have to take your, IV drip and it's all lopsided and like it falls over. It's just like, what is happening? And it's like unacceptable. So it's like that's a space where we're trying to build out, right? And I have a couple of friends who want to help and people want to help. And it's like, who wouldn't want to help, right? And that's the idea, is to show people this is exactly what your money's going. This is exactly what we need. Yeah. I'm not trying to pocket any money. It's like, dude, you'd be surprised how many charities, if you look through books, 10 out of 10 people that I talk to have quit charities because they rent the books. I've talked to 10 other people who ran books for other charities.
I've raised a lot of money for charities, and I actually stopped. I got to a point where I was just, I learned too much, and I was like, why am I raising all of this money?
Correct.
So I get that.
And I'm very vocal about it because I've raised money too for other charities, and 90% of my money, because I got my lawyer involved to see where my money went, and 90% of it went to marketing. Yeah. And I'm like, that's fucking weird.
Especially
and so
when these charities are well known, every penny goes to that's what it is. And for me, that tasted bad. And
you're tithing or whatever, you're feeling like good and you're feeling godly about it. And it's like awesome. Like it's your tax money. So it's like, do something positive with it. And like, I'm not going to call out names, but it's like, you kill them with love. It's like, hey, like you're doing the wrong things. Yeah. And I'm here to change that because I am successful. I don't need charitable money. Right. We need to help people that are struggling right now. And there's so many people struggling. There's so many people who don't have families. There's so many people who like are sick and they shouldn't be sick. And it's like, you'd be disgusted at how much these people are paying to just get their child to be okay. Yeah. And it's like, I don't have a cure. I don't have the money to pay off your debts right now. Hopefully that's the dream, right? If we can raise a lot of money to help people pay off debts. But it's like, let me help the child right now with what they need, because maybe with some hope, maybe that can help them get better quick.
Of course. And the ripple effect starts with the child, or the patient really, and everything gets better if they get better.
Yeah. If I didn't have a Bonnie telling me would I die for what I love, who knows what I'd be doing when I was in chemo. Yeah. If I'm 20 years old and all my friends are in college and I didn't have an outcome.
Who knows what you'd be doing today?
Who knows if I would even make it, right? And like that's what I always say. I'm like, I had something to fight for every day.
She gave you your purpose. Like, she was.
And so it's like
crazy story.
And so it's like, she changed my life. Like she rest in peace. And it's like, just what a dope human. And it's like, for me, it's like, I want to carry that legacy for her, which I've been doing. That's why I started a charity. It's like, I want to like carry a legacy of like, hey, I see you too, to anybody out there. It's like, talk like that. So I'm like, I'm very open to talk about anything all the time, but I'm like, I just want to help.
So speaking of, because we have to wrap up here, speaking of, how do people get in touch that want to donate, that want to support in any way?
HeyI'mHereForYou.org. I've never understood the org thing until I started an organization. Yeah, I was like, what? Dude, no freaking way. I always thought it was like a cheaper website. Like, I never know. As a kid, I was like, org. Like, it must be
not available.
Yeah, I was like, org must be like the person that's like cheap, like whatever. Like, I never thought, like, I'm on Google, but I'm like, no, it's an organization. So, like, HIHFY, or you can go on Google. Hey, I'm here for you. It'll pop up, and the site is like it's there. But where we're doing it right now, we're going to launch officially on the 21st this month. And it's a stunning site, very interactive. It's just fun. We want to be
social media too, on Instagram.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, I'm here for you. You'll find it. I think it's called Hyphy Charity on Instagram. HIHFY. I call it Hyphy. But and yeah, start getting involved. Start keeping up. Like their Instagram. Like we're very new.
Yeah.
This is the blessing. So everybody gets to grow with us. Yeah. Right. So eventually we want somebody to be like, hey, come to wherever. And that's the goal. But right now we're helping kids at Vanderbilt in Nashville.
Doing great work.
A lot of amazing kids, a lot of passionate kids, and we just want to help them out right now. Yeah. And, we hope to grow very big and soon. So it's like, volunteer, tell me your stories. I like ideas. Like, it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, there's no bad ideas and there's no wrong volunteer. If you want to, whatever you want, that's the whole point when you're like, someone's like, I want to help. How do I help? It's like, whatever you want to do. Like, what are you good at? Yeah. Like, what can you help with? Yeah. Like, I cook food. Cool. Yeah. Like, we need food at the hospital. We need, it's like, we need things. Yeah. So it's like, the more you understand, the more you can provide and like help the way you feel like you can help. So,
Well, your story is unbelievable. And I'm excited to spend more time with you and have a positive impact and help you on your journey.
We're going to do some amazing things.
We are, my friend. Thank you.
Follow Hey, I'm Here For You.
Yeah.
Follow. I have some music coming out this year. I'm doing like the cheap plugs. I never do this. I'm, follow, listen to my music if you like. That's also another thing where I'm like, if you don't like my music, at least support the charity. Like, it's like I'm just.
How could you not like
come on. Come on. Hey, come on, man. You want to hear sad songs? Somebody asked me the other day, like, are you ever going to make a happy song? And I was like, no, I don't know. I want to. I think I do it sometimes. Like it's not happy. And I'm like, dang.
This is your version of a happy song.
Yeah, I'm just like, let me just take it's like my journal is my music. So listen to the music, support the charity, support anybody in community, love people, be kind, and figure it out.
Thank you for coming through,
bro.
Brother.
Appreciate you. Absolutely.
I just wanna have peace. Pay for the bill, let them take my card, never see the receipt. Good health, we proud, but everybody around prosperity. I just wanna have peace.